One of the questions I hear most often is, how do we support our kids to learn how to read if they're not in school? I think most of us have grown up in school atmospheres, and so we know that style of learning how to read. And usually it's using phonemic awareness and moving everyone along as a group in a certain direction at a certain pace. And when it comes to unschooling, I think that learning looks very different. People are often surprised by how reading happens in an unschooling environment. One thing that I love about being an unschooling parent is that our family is truly our literacy community. Because my kids, they're part of the world, we are out in the world, we're doing things, they can be invited in, and from a young age, they can feel like they are a part of this bigger culture of readers and writers. And we can invite our kids in where they're at, not where they should be. So there's not really this pressure to be or do something different from where you're at right now. In fact, I would even say that differences can be recognized and valued, which can feel really great as you're learning this new skill. So it's not just about skill acquisition, it's about feeling like you're a part of the community. Some of the ways that I invite my kids in to this world of literacy around us is reading signs. In fact, that has become a favorite activity of two of my kids. In fact, one of them even regularly says, I'm not really into reading books because I'm more into reading the world. And I love that. I might even make that into a meme. But that comes about by, not feeling this rush to get it right, to move at a certain pace. I can really slow down and go at a pace that invites them in and look at things and explore things that are meaningful to them. So as we're exploring the world and we come across signs, we don't have to go quick and put the money in the parking meter or put the credit card in the parking meter. We can go slow enough so that I can get them to help me with the process. And that can feel really rewarding for them to feel like, oh yeah, I know how the world works, and I'm part of this world, and I know how to do things. My kids also really love using video games and online apps as part of their exposure to reading and writing. I might make a separate video on this topic just because it's one that brings my kids a lot of joy. I often will make sure that I am available while they're playing video games because they might need help spelling something, they might need help reading something. Sometimes the text comes across really quickly and they don't know how to slow it down, and so I will trace with my finger so that we can at least be reading along together. But those high interest pulls that they're already attracted to, that they already want to take part in, those are great ways to learn how to read. I often think that, some of the games on Roblox that my kids are playing, I consider that reading time because there's just so much text that they're reading to try to make sense of what's happening in the game. My kids also really love read-alouds. Not all kids do, and some kids want read-alouds all the time, and for those kids, having some ebooks might be really helpful. But my kids really love read-alouds. It's a way for us to get into the joy of reading and explore some concepts that maybe they wouldn't be able to explore at the level of reading where they're at. That I do that I think is also really helpful, and it's drawing on the things that they're most interested in, is we have books pretty much in every room of our home. We've got high interest books on topics that are really grabbing their attention, so like science-y stuff, or maybe civilizations, ancient civilizations. And then we also have books that have really beautiful illustrations, or books that are just really beautiful stories. And sometimes these books might be read aloud. Sometimes the kids are trying to decipher what everything in the pictures and in the words mean. But those high interest, you know, beautiful books, I think they are a huge help in drawing kids into wanting to learn how to read and using this skill set. I also make sure that we get books that maybe are more trendy, or they're drawing on popular culture. So these aren't things that are maybe like the best storyline or the best illustrations, but maybe they know the characters from, you know, watching a show or watching a YouTuber. And again, they're highly motivating because the kids want to be learning what's happening. They want, you know, this is part of their culture. They're really curious about it. And if it's text and they're drawn to it, yeah, I'm in. Let's do it. Let's give it a try. So that's just a really quick overview about how my unschooling family approaches reading. Keep in mind that within a family, each kid will be totally different in their approach and in their style. And because we are unschooling, we can really individualize what that process looks like for them. There's a huge range in what kids might be able to accomplish at any particular age. So remember, between the ages of 2 and 16 is when most unschoolers learn to read and apply literacy skills. And because we're not on a particular timeline, especially for kids who are neurodivergent, that can feel really supportive, that they're still part of this literacy community. They're still part of this world of symbols and text. And they can go at a pace that makes sense for them. The differences that might pop up and exist in classrooms all the time, oh, my kids are really loud, because those differences, you know, they don't matter as much when you're not in school. So for kids who are neurodivergent, they might find it to be really supportive to be learning in an unschooling environment because they can go at their own pace. There's no shame involved at the pace that they're going. They can really sort of tweak the style to fit their learning style. And they can move towards the things that they are most motivated to be learning in. I think one of the cool things about having this group of unschoolers who are learning how to read outside of school is that we can learn a lot more about reading in general. I think it's so cool that there's, you know, lots of anecdotal stories about late blooming readers in unschooling circles who go on to do really amazing things with literacy. And so it just sort of highlights that we're all growing at our own pace. We're all learning at our own pace. Where you are right now doesn't define where you're going to be in the future. And having that openness, I think, is really important for all of us. And it's really exciting for me to think about, so if this is what reading and literacy looks like outside of school, what parts of that can we use to help us understand how to support more learners in school? Because I know that not all families can choose this unschooling path, and not all countries have it as a legal path to choose. So yeah, I hope this little tidbit, this short little video about reading was helpful. I'm still learning so much myself, but if you have questions, feel free to send them my way. I'm really curious to hear your responses.